All right, new car review. I'll give you a hint. Freaking Equinox 20. What was this? 2019? Yeah, it's 2019 Equinox. It's got the 1.5 liter turbo. Anyways, and then sports car or Ricer land over here, whatever you want to call it. You might be wondering why we got a 2019 Equinox with the little gas sipper motor. So like I said, it's a turbo, but it's a 1.5, so not a ton of power. It's 170 horse, I believe it is. I'll throw it up on the screen. Go ahead and start her up. Well, maybe if I push the brake first. I've only driven this thing once so far, and new cars are foreign to me. I like my old stuff. So I'll pop the hood, show you the engine and the turbo and all that, talk about it real quick. You know I'm a hot rod guy, so I'm not going to talk about a whole lot of features or anything like that, just driving experience in the engine and whatnot. We'll take her down the road and hit the gas a few times for you. So like I said, a little 1.5, turbo's right here, little tiny guy. This is based off the engine that was first put in the, what are they called? The Chevy Cruze, and the Spark has them now. Those are 1.4, they're a little bit bigger. In the Equinox here, obviously you need a little more torque to move the larger, heavier vehicle. So 1.5 instead of a 1.4. There's your intake box. Some sort of boost control, blow off valve, something like that. It's got a couple different things. Exhaust manifold. But yeah, there she is. Not much to look at. So they're not all-wheel drive, but this one is, and I thought it was cool because it's not all-time all-wheel drive. So normally it's just going to be front-wheel drive there for you. But if you push the all-wheel drive button, I'm not exactly sure how the system works, but I thought it was interesting that it gives you the option. But you do notice it says all-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive. So that should mean it's still front-wheel drive until it detects slip or something, and then it'll kick in the rear tires. So that's usually why all-wheel drive is typically automatic and you don't have to depress a button to select it. That's why I'm curious if this one works slightly different, because four-wheel drive means it's sending power at all times to all four tires, whereas all-wheel drive typically indicates that it only sends power to two wheels until it notices it slips or something, and then it sends it to all four. But maybe this one, since it has a selection, maybe it works differently where it puts power to all four once you press the button. Not really sure. Obviously she's automatic there, but you do have this little worn away here. You can see the plus and the minus. So it does have the, I guess it wouldn't be a slap shift, but you can shift it manually if you want. And this one having the base engine, the 1.5, is a 6-speed automatic. If you get the 2 liter, which has considerably more power, I think it's almost 100 more horsepower, 260 I think. That has a 9-speed automatic. Alright, but why'd we end up with this thing? Well, first of all, it's her purchase and not mine. The WRX is hers. The Kia used to be mine, but it's now hers. But she has some shoulder issues, and so she said she wanted to get something automatic, so she didn't have to drive a stick every day, and was wanting, I guess, a crossover. And initially we were looking at, she was interested in, what's the Kia thing? I'll throw it up on the screen, but I was really digging the Kia. But I guess she went and test drove one, did not like it, and then she drove a Traverse or something. Again, I'll have it up on the screen. Then she went and drove this, and I guess she loved this one and came home with it. So it's got the automatic, and you know, it gets pretty good gas mileage. These are about, it depends on which publication you read or what Google result you get, but with the 1.5 here, it's about 26 city, 32 highway, and we've been averaging like high 20s in it, like 28 miles per gallon. So it does pretty good on gas with that one little 1.5 liter. But it's got a turbo on it because obviously a little 1.5, you know, that's like stuff like Geo Metros and Prisms and whatnot. Back in the 90s used to have little Honda Civics. You know, you're talking like 90, 100 horsepower, which is obviously not enough power to move this thing. So they got to put the turbos on them. so it does have enough power to move a modern sized vehicle or a larger vehicle like this. Because again, even in the Cruise and the Spark, they still got the turbo on them. So it's just an 8 in power. Plus the turbo gives you a little bit of down low and mid-range torque on these. Which brings me to the driving experience. When you first hit the gas, it doesn't feel very powerful at all, but just for like a second, because you got to get that little turbo spooled up, and even though it's tiny, it still takes a second for it to get going. So I noticed as soon as you touch the gas pedal, and I've tried, it doesn't matter if you punch it or not, it's kind of the same response for the first second, where there's like basically nothing, because again, you're basically running a 90 to 100 horse 1.5 liter in a 3,400 pound vehicle, so of course it's not going to move slow, especially at low RPMs. But literally about a second after you hit the gas, that little turbo spools up, and then it'll finally take off for you, which I actually got to be careful, because at first you hit the gas and you're like, oh, it's not moving, so then you put your foot down to get it going, especially if you pulled out in front of someone. And you guys probably couldn't hear it there, plus I just had traction control kick in. But yeah, you got to be careful making those 90-degree turns from a stop, because when that little turbo does kick in, and it doesn't take long, it starts frying the inside tire. So that's the other thing. This has great like mid-low and mid-range power once that turbo kicks in. Again, like I said, it's 170 horsepower, but 203 foot-pounds of torque. And with it being a small turbo, it doesn't take very long for it to kick in. And once it does, it's like, it's what I've noticed with turbo cars that aren't, you know, like Toyota Supras or whatever, where they're all top end with big turbos with tons of lag, where you got to wait forever for the power to kick in. Even the WRX is like this. When the turbo kicks in, you can only be like 30-40% throttle. And then when that turbo hits, even at a lower RPM, even at 30 to 40% throttle, it's pretty much giving you maximum power, as if you were flooring the vehicle, even though you're nowhere near having the pedal to the floor. And with an engine that works like that, with those small turbos, you put your foot down the rest of the way, and unfortunately there's not really a whole much more power left. And that's definitely how this thing operates. Now the Subaru does pull a little better on top end, you know, being more powerful and having a little bit bigger turbo than this, plus we have it tuned, so we picked up some top end power there after we had it dyno tuned. But yeah, this thing, it kicks in real quick, and then you have like, you're like, wow, this thing's got plenty of power, because you only push the gas pedal down like 25-30% of the way, and it'll start spinning that tire if you aren't careful, like I said, turning right or left from a stop. So you're like, wow, this thing has plenty of power to spare, but it actually doesn't. It's because it gives you all that power with only 25 to 30% throttle. And then if you put your foot down the rest of the way, you don't really get anything else. So it's great for just driving around. But if you want a hot rod and you're like, ooh, this is going to give me a lot more power, I just need to put my foot down, it's very disappointing, because there's nothing extra there. It'll just basically, she'll rev out further, but it doesn't really pull any stronger. But for a daily driver and day-to-day driving, the power band on it actually makes it pretty nice to drive, because you don't got to put your foot down very far, and it takes off. So it depends on how you want to look at it, and that's what you got it for, just to drive, you know, daily driver back and forth to work and the grocery store and whatnot. So I mean, really, it's perfect for that. And so other than lacking top end power when you put your foot all the way down, again, it's because of the way the engine is and designed with the little turbo and all that. The only other complaint I would have as far as the power band goes is that hesitation at first. When you very first touch the pedal, there's like nothing there for a second. You got to wait for that little turbo to spin up. But yeah, I mean, overall though, like I said, just driving around is pretty nice. This thing is pretty dang comfortable. I'm not a big huge guy, but it feels plenty roomy for me, even though it's like a little compact crossover. I don't got to put the seat all the way back. I got tons of headroom. The seat's really comfortable, so it's a nice comfortable drive. Like I said, I'm not much of a features guy, but obviously you got Bluetooth capability, all that. It's got backup camera. Pretty sure it has its own Wi-Fi. You can charge all your crap in here. It's got air conditioning and heaters in the back and all that, so that's pretty cool. Touchless tailgate, and it's automatic, goes up and down on its own and what have you. Auto start, if I could have figured it out in the beginning of the video, which I did not. And most people that would drive something like this would care about this, but it's pretty quiet driving around too, so good sound deadening, and you know, the engine's not very loud either. I'm gonna replicate something here. I'm just pulling out of a little town. I'm making a trip here, and this is slightly uphill. I'm gonna kind of do what I did there and push down the gas a little, and look at the low RPM. Like, I get just past 2,000 and I'm only like 20-25% throttle. And I know, like, the camera doesn't really show it, but it picks up pretty strong and puts you back in the seat with only like 25% throttle and at low RPM, and it picks up and goes going up a hill. So like I said, that little turbo gives it great torque at down low and mid range. So like I said, driving it around, you're gonna be like, man, this thing's pretty good actually, because it doesn't take a lot of throttle response to get it going. That turbo kicks in by 2,000 RPM and you're gone. You just don't get a whole lot more if you actually mat your foot all the way down. Alright, we got some twisties here. I've not taken it through curves or anything yet. And yeah, man, it's cornering nice and flat. I figured it would handle pretty decent because, I mean, just driving around, it feels like it would. Obviously, it's just got regular all-season tires on it. Nothing special, nothing fancy. She's 100% stock. But it's just, brakes are really strong. And, you know, it's just generic brakes, whatever they put on it at the dealer to get it sold. So it's not like they're nothing special. Yeah, this thing is just eating up the curves. It's crazy. It feels sporty. Man, it's pulling up this hill, too. It is not struggling to gain speed there up this hill. It's a pretty decently steep hill. And I did not floor it. It was probably about 50% throttle. I know it's probably hard for you guys to see the speedo and all that right now, but I'm just trying to kind of hold it here and play in these curves a little bit. Yeah, this thing's... I like it even more now. Like I said, I haven't put it through the curves yet, and it's handling these curves no problem, like kind of like a little sporty car. It is actually cornering nice and flat, so I don't... Obviously, it's not got low pros or anything on it like that, so it must have some decent tires on it, because I'm not feeling the sidewall trying to flex on me going around the corners, and I'm staying nice and seated. I'm not sliding around in my seat, and it's the body roll is very controlled. It's very flat cornering. I'm actually kind of having fun right now. Let's see if it's clear here. I'll give her a little juice. All right. Man, that's what's crazy too. Everyone, you know, you get behind all kinds of people driving these, and behind in the curves, they'd be going like 35 miles an hour around the curves. And to think that this thing is actually as capable as it is, but everyone drives them so dang slow. And you're like, please speed up. This thing's, there's no reason for them to be taking corners that slow in these things. You know, these things are everywhere. I've definitely been caught behind plenty of them on the back roads and in the curvy, twisty roads and whatnot. And yeah, they are just taking it way slower than they need to. Because this thing, it's blowing my mind right now. The handling is great. Well, that's the other thing, the sense of speed in this. I don't know if it's because I'm used to being lower to the ground in the little sporty cars, but it does not feel like you're going as fast as what you are. So I would say that could get you in trouble in something like this, but like I said, man, this thing is just eating up the curves. It really surprised me. Oh, yeah, I forgot how sharp it gets right there. I forgot it's got that, yeah, see, it just did it. It shut off, and then, I don't know, let off the brake and it kicks back on. Yeah. We do not like that at all, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later towards the end of the video. Of course, we should be wrapping up by now, pretty close. Anyway, there's a delete way you can delete that rather inexpensively. We are definitely doing that because we hate that crap. Alright, I'm going to show you guys what I mean about the acceleration here. We are on flat ground. So, I'll do like a little 25% stab here, then we'll do 50, and then full throttle. Okay, that was maybe closer to 20%, so we'll definitely get a lot more of 50, but 50 is going to be pretty close to what full throttle does, so that's what I'm trying to show you here. So now we'll do 50% throttle. See, she's revving up pretty high there. 50% throttle. The tack goes way further than where red line is and where it shifts at full throttle. So we'll do full throttle now. All right, 100% throttle. This is all the beans. As long as this thing don't shut off on me. It just shut off on me. I gotta brake boost this. See? Even more reason to delete that. All right. Yeah, as you can see, didn't really rev out, but what, a few hundred RPM further at 100% throttle than what it did at 50%, and it didn't really feel any faster. So like I said, you give it like, well, 50% throttle like we did previously, and you're basically full throttle there. So you pretty much never really need to punch this thing, or you never need to floor it, never need to put it clear to the floor, because if you're 40-50% throttle, that's pretty much maximum power already. So as I said, it's like a little bit of a delusion. Just driving around, it feels really powerful, because by the time you get to 50% throttle, maybe less, it's already basically giving you full power, and you're like, wow, I don't even have the gas pedal anywhere near all the way down, and this thing is just ripping. But that's just the way the little turbos work. They kick on super soon, so you don't have to wait until you're real high in the RPM before they really start making power, like, you know, a full build turbo race car. But because of that, they kick in so soon, and you got full boost with only partial throttle, and at low and mid-range RPMs, you know, you're getting full power down there, and then when you put your foot down the rest of the way, there's nothing else left. So it sucks for a race car, but this isn't a race car, so for driving around day to day, like I said, it's actually a pretty perfect little power band in that respect. Now, this is a really steep hill here. I don't know how well the camera will give it justice, but I bet this thing has plenty of power to get up it. Oh yeah, it just upshifted. I was giving it about 50% throttle, and it upshifted because it was gaining speed a little bit. Once again, I'm going way faster than what I feel like. This thing just handles crazy good. It's not even leaning, man. So yeah, I'll show you guys a little more of the interior real quick, and then we'll go over some reliability and common issues with these, which we actually already had a problem. That's been fixed. So this one, oh, it's the premium or whatever they call it. It's got the two-tone leather. It's really roomy. There's your rear AC and heat, and no back seats, but tons of room for groceries and whatnot back there. But so these are, if you know anything about the little Ecotech turbos, they were pretty problematic in the Cruise. I'm gonna have to try to do this one-handed. Holding the hood up with my head. Anyways, under this thing, is this toolless? No, I need a tool. Well, that's interesting. Anyways, these have, I know the valve covers, I believe the old ones, the PCV, would go bad all the time, and it was incorporated into the valve cover, if I'm not mistaken, so you'd have to replace the valve cover all the time. And because it was incorporated into it, if I'm correct on that, and it was rather expensive. But common issue, the PCV system gets gunked up with oil, so those need changed out all the time. And I was doing some research on this, see what kind of issues we were going to have with this. And I guess the spring and a little wastegate, blow-off valve, what have you there, gets weak over time. And I can actually check this with a vacuum. It should be able to pull so much vacuum before it starts to open. It's got a little rod that runs under there. It's part of the turbo. And that spring in there wears out on the factory units, and it starts opening before it's supposed to. So when it does that, and you're actually not making full boost and you're losing some power, and once it gets bad enough, eventually it'll throw a code for like low boost or what have you. But very likely a ton of these are running around. There's no check engine light whatsoever, and they're down several PSI on boost because that springs wore out. So that's something that we're going to address, and we're actually going to do an upgraded unit that won't have that problem. When I do that, post a video of it. Some other issues, you know, you can get boost leaks, and if you get boost leaks, then you have like the same freaking problem. You'll be under boost, not making power. Some of these, like the charge pipes or whatever the heck they call the pipes and stuff that run from the turbo to the intercooler, wherever the heck it is down in there, they got like little O-ring gaskets in them that with age and mileage they go bad, and then you develop leaks there. So if you don't know anything about turbo cars, if you have boost leaks, then you have power loss. So turbos are a great power adder, but they definitely add a bunch of extra parts that non-turbo engines do not have. So there's more issues you got to worry about. There's 3 different PCV on this thing, so I have to keep an eye on those, make sure they don't get clogged up. I was reading about an issue where in that piping that runs to the intercooler, condensation, when it's colder climates like it will be here in a few months in the winter and whatnot, condensation can build up in there, and then it'll freeze and turn to ice, and then you can get it busting some stuff like that. You really want to do a catch can on this because it gets a lot of oil in that system through the crap PCV system, and it gunks up the intercooler and whatnot with oil. So that's probably something we'll do too, on top of putting an upgraded one of those in. And that issue that we had, lucky for her, this thing came with like a 1,000-mile warranty or whatever when she bought it. According to her, no charge. But she got a code that came up, something about, I'll throw it up on the screen, but she had like reduced performance, like the car didn't want to go, it wouldn't make boost or anything like that. And that was these guys right here. Little VVT solenoids. So these are actually screens here. Yeah, there you go, it's focusing on it okay there, at least it was for a second. There you go. Those are metal screens that the oil flow through to actuate the VVT, and if that doesn't work, then you're not going to have power. And as you can see there on that one, see how that's all gunked up? the screens can get gunked up and then it doesn't work right. Now, they just replaced this under that warranty that I mentioned that she had, but you could very likely clean those off. So these are the, I can't remember if they're intake or exhaust. It's one side or the other. So the other side hasn't been touched yet, so I'm probably going to be pulling those, checking those, and cleaning them off before we have any issues with those. If those screens there clog up, then it doesn't get the right oil flow through it, and then your VVT won't work. And that's mostly it with this car. You know, you got to stay on top of these little engines. So last thing on there, I'll insert it if I forget anything else, but lastly is direct injection engine, as are, probably the majority of new cars now. So your valves will get gunked up over time, and you're supposed to take them in and get the walnut blasting done. With this thing being in the 80,000 mile range, it's probably about due. I see some cars, they say every 100,000 miles, but that's on the far end. Some recommend it like every 50, 60,000 miles. So this one's definitely coming up on being due. And if you don't do that, eventually your valves will not close properly. They will not close all the way because of all the carbon fouling on them due to that direct injection system. And then that will cause a misfire, and you could also get burnt valves. So that is something that you need to keep in mind with direct injection engines. And like I said, it's not just this thing. Most modern cars now are direct injection. So that's just par for the course with those kinds of engines in these newer vehicles. You know, I'm sure there's a few other common issues, but you look up any new car within the past 10 years and they all got stinking issues. As far as I recall, it's all minor stuff with this. Other than the engine, you just got to stay on top of it with proper maintenance and making sure that, you know, your three-piece PCV system isn't getting clogged up, that these VVT solenoids aren't getting clogged up. You got to watch the spring on that, make sure it's not wore out. Like I said, we're going to upgrade that. I'll post a video on it. We're going to do a catch can. Keeps all the condensation and crap plus oil out of the tubes going through the intercooler and whatnot. And I'll have a video on that. So as long as you stay on top of the little nitpicky things with this engine, this thing's actually pretty reliable for these newer vehicles, which are not known to be as reliable as like cars from the 90s. Final thoughts on it though, it handles fantastic for what it is. Like I said, plenty of down low and mid-range power, super comfy, brakes are really strong. So yeah, for a daily driver, this thing's actually pretty nice. Like I said, I just wish it had a little more when you first hit it, but you're not going to get more with a 1.5 until that turbo kicks in. So thankfully it kicks in really soon. And of course I wish it had more power at full throttle and all that, but you know, it's not a sports car, it's not a muscle car, that's not really what it's made for. But you can get them with the 2-liter that has way more power if you want. However, if I recall correctly, that 9-speed automatic that one comes with does not have the best reputation. So I would probably stick with the 1.5. If you want something to hot rod, maybe look elsewhere. But overall, for what it is, I actually really like it. And I was thinking about, you know, trying to get her to do a few things and make it a little more peppy on the top end there, but it's just not really worth it. Because if I add just about anything on this, I'm going to have to get it tuned, and then if I really want it to make more power, then we're going to have to run 93 octane instead of 87, so that kind of defeats the whole purpose of this thing, doing what she wants, and then on top of that, getting great gas mileage for this kind of vehicle, because it's only got that little 1.5 liter, and being able to use the cheap gas. So other than the upgrades I'm going to do for reliability and longevity purposes, she's going to stay pretty much stock. But anyways, that's the Equinox. Thanks for stopping by and checking it out, and I'll catch you on the next one.